Once upon a time, in a quiet and peaceful pond, lived a small frog named Croak. Croak was a timid frog, always hiding from the other creatures in the pond. He was afraid of everything and never ventured out, fearing the unknown. One day, a great storm swept through the pond, causing the water to rise and many of the smaller creatures to flee. Croak, too, wanted to leave, but his fear held him back. As the storm raged on, he watched as his home was swept away. Feeling scared and helpless, Croak realized that he needed to find a new home. He knew he had to overcome his fears and find the courage to face the unknown. With a deep breath, he set off on a journey, determined to find a new home for himself and the other small creatures who had been displaced by the storm. Croak hopped through the mud and over the fallen trees, never giving up. He encountered many challenges along the way, but he pushed on, determined to find a new home. He climbed steep hills, crossed rushing rivers, and even faced a fearsome snake, but he never let his fear hold him back. As Croak continued on his journey, he noticed that the other creatures who had been displaced by the storm were following him. They saw his determination and bravery, and they were inspired by his courage. They followed him, hoping that he would lead them to a new home. One day, Croak came across a beautiful pond, surrounded by lush greenery and filled with delicious insects. He knew at once that this was the perfect home for him and the other creatures. He called out to them, and they followed him to the new pond. The other creatures were overjoyed to have found a new home, and they thanked Croak for his bravery and determination. Croak was proud of himself. He had faced his fears and found the courage to lead his friends to a new home. From that day on, Croak was no longer afraid of the unknown, and he lived out the rest of his days in the beautiful pond, surrounded by his friends. The lesson that Croak learned on his journey was that courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to face it and persevere. He learned that sometimes the things we fear the most can lead us to the greatest adventures and the most wonderful places. And he learned that when we face our fears and overcome them, we can inspire others to do the same.